I am currently still in school, a student at Wesleyan University, going into my senior year, film student. Been to NFFTY many times. I love it more than anything. It's like my favorite place to find amazing filmmakers and people to learn from and work with. And I'm really excited. Today my film that we're talking about is called Questionable. It's one I made my junior year of high school, but I still love it dearly. Tell me about you, Lauren.
I'm Lauren. I've been out of school actually for a bit. I feel like an older mom in these, but I graduated from Azusa Pacific University in 2017. And since graduating, I feel very fortunate. I created my own production company to do music videos and commercials because I was like, well, I want to be a director, but I need things to show. And I did a program in Orange County called Film Ed that I've gone back and taught at, and it's very similar to NFFTY. Been to NFFTY twice, and now I am a freelance writer and director, and I also teach film to high school students in Los Angeles. And then I'm going to be talking about a film, my senior thesis film I made at APU called Foolish Smarts and How to Lose Them. So I think you said it perfectly when we were chatting before. You said, it felt like such a good learning lesson. And it felt like your film Questionable was something that you learned a lot from. What kind of started you off as a filmmaker, and what made you fall in love with filmmaking, and, what led to that project?
When I was really little, I feel like this is kind of a universal filmmaker experience as children, but I just make really horrible iMovie trailers
Always
with my friends, things like little music videos set to Ed Sheeran,
literally
really intense saturation.
That's your coloring.
Well, and I just kind of did that a lot as a kid. And I didn't really take it seriously until I was actually applying to my high school film program. And then I was like, I really want to make an actual film and do it. And I did it. And it was around that time that I really started taking it seriously, kind of, and being like, oh, this is something I want to put a lot of time in. Because especially, I think for all of us who ended up getting into film, there's kind of this transition between I love doing this all the time, and then being like, oh, I need to do this all the time. I watched a lot of movies as a child. My parents would have Hitchcock month, and we'd go and we'd rent it from the store and watch it.
I love that.
These little things. And then I just started watching them more and more with my family and having movie nights. And in high school, when I got involved in more kind of youth film programs, ways to meet people like NFFTY or Young Arts, or even my high school film program.
Very similar. I one of my iconic meme jokes between friends is we recreated the Twilight baseball scene when I was in middle school. It was I had my little Sony camcorder, and it wasn't even iMovie. My dad had a Dell. I think I used Sony Vegas or something like that. And same thing, music videos. I remember we were really into making horror movie trailers, not movies, just trailers. It was exactly what you said about transitioning from oh, I want to do this to I need to do this. I can't. There's nothing that gets me more excited, or how could I spend 6 straight hours at my dad's computer editing this stupid thing, but being so invested in it when I was a kid. And for me, I recently discovered that I always thought I was going to be an author, because I would only ask for notebooks for Christmas, fill up every notebook with stories. And when I would write, I would say, oh, well, I'm going to write the book, and then when they make my book into a movie, this is how it's going to be. And so I'd always write it like it was a movie, and I didn't realize screenwriting was a thing. And I didn't realize that until quarantine happened. And, I had a couple projects that I was able to pitch on or adapt and things. And I'd be writing, and it felt like I was tapping back into that childhood play where I would just not leave my computer for 6 hours, and I didn't even realize it. I wasn't stressed. It was oh my God, I get to be paid to play make-believe, and it was so cool. So I think it kind of all led up to, like you said, getting into these programs like NFFTY. For me, Chelsea did LOXA. I did a program called Film at Academy of the Arts in Orange County, which I felt so lucky to do. And, from there you get those mentors that really help you hone in on your skills. And I think it really does come from a place of like passion and story first. And then you get to learn, I think both you and I probably did the technical stuff a little later and realized like, oh, wow, these are the ways I can tell this story cinematically. And so it was really cool to be so hands-on, so young. What would you say, for you, Chelsea, like, is there sort of a through line with like the films you make or any kind of like, I guess, topics you like to explore?
I think that my main characters tend to be like very, very similar people, which is
Yes.
kind of like angsty.
I love it.
Like angsty teenage girls that are
Yeah.
trying to figure something out. I don't know. I think that I definitely do have through lines. I make a lot of things about like anxiety and I think self-identity. That's
Yes.
and obviously that was a big one with Questionable, and kind of my seedling for that, which is kind of obvious, is that this college application process that was just lingering in my future at the time when I was a junior in high school. And I kind of like very literally transferred a lot of those anxieties into the movie. Even a lot of the concepts in mine were stemming from very specific conversations that I had with college counselors or stuff. Being like, oh, like what defines you? Like, what's your word or thing that defines you? I tend to make movies just kind of where what my mind is thinking about most at the time that I'm writing them.
I like, even as a 20-year-old, I'm going, oh my God, because we're all emerging into this world now, or being in college or being out of college, you're going, what's my brand? Like, especially as an artist or a filmmaker, well, oh, I know Fincher makes these type of movies. I know Wes Anderson makes these. So do I have to be one type of person? Like, do I have to exude one theme throughout all my work, or, versus
starting as like a high schooler trying to figure out films and figure out what type of movie you're going to make? I know exactly.
Totally.
I mean, I think that's something interesting that's very like common with both of our films, is that they are kind of an alternate universe type thing.
Yes.
And we both have to do a lot of world building. And I think that something I want to talk about is just like what resources did you use when you were trying to like make that and come up with that?
Originally, the film that I wanted to make I wanted it to be more trailer trashy type, like little resources, kind of like on the poverty line type film. And I wanted to be another world where it felt like there was just no like media that touched. So because I was really struggling with how to make it believable that someone could get wisdom teeth removed and believe these things. And I got a note from a professor that was like, I just don't think it's going to be believable. I think especially with a senior thesis, you have to go big, you have to build big and really design this world. And I'm glad that I got that note and took it and ran with it. So where we kind of brought it down to, and got the production design, I had the most incredible production designer. And to this day, I've felt like I have always upheld this kind of like, who do you have access to? And so like, for example, with we had these like ATV go-karts, and I was really, really keen on them, riding them. And I was like, I really want this. Does anyone have access to those things? And at the time people would be like, no, I don't. And then it was like, we would sit down and I'd literally sit around and be like, okay, do you think about your cousins, think about your aunts, your uncles, and then at one point my production designer, Abby, goes like, my second uncle or something. She goes, I think he lives in the desert and rides those things. I've seen pictures on Facebook. And I was like, can we contact them? Like, we will drive out and get them. And so like the day of production, they rolled up with these and we were shooting other things like at the abandoned water park. We rolled up on that day and we were shooting around the park as my production designer was like dressing these carts and like spraying them down with mud and just trying to do everything we could to just make them look less perfect. Yeah. And, then in the abandoned church, it was like, my producer was like, my like aunt or uncle or someone, you know, it was always distant relatives. They actually have this old church that they used to just house their ATVs, motorcycles in this little town called Randsburg. Like, should I ask? You know, and it just felt like just being a good person and like being kind to people and being able to pull those favors, because, you know, we got all of that for free, and we were able to spend money on, like, we built that dentist office in my school's soundstage, which let's just like make this as big as we can. So we spent days over Christmas break. We would go into the soundstage and just construct a dentist office.
That's something that I always say also, is that I'd much rather have somebody who cares about your project and will put in all the hours than somebody who might be like very, very knowledgeable about something but isn't excited about the project. And then
is doing it for a job.
Yeah, and like I think that every single time I make a film, I'm reminded of that, because the people who like care about the film and like care about you and want to help you make your vision and will collaborate with you to make it for both of you.
Yes.
Like they'll just put in the craziest amount of effort. And like, I know that when it's reversed, I'll do the same for them. It's just the best feeling. It's insane how much you can get done with a group of people who really care about a project, you know?
To a T. And I'm like, that's the dream of like going into the industry too. Like, I'm sure you can agree, where you're like, oh, we're going to bring each other up. But you know, it's like, that's the type of people you want to work with, because it's the people. I hate that the entertainment industry feels so tainted by money and success, because it's like, you know, we all were placed into this industry because we're like, we just care. We don't care about the money. Like and so it's like, I just want to work with people who care. I don't want to work with people who are like, oh, what's the day rate?
No, 100%. And it changes the quality of everything so much when it's something I learned over and over again, and it's just never not true.
Yes.
You know?
And with you, so when she, you know, she's in front of the ego and like the id and it's so good, and you brought the lights up and the people were behind them, like and you had so many extras, which in and of itself is hard to do. Like, I just want to know about that alternate world where she was sitting in front of these 3 judges, you know, like I want to hear about that.
At high school, it's like LOXA, and so I was in the film program there, and I just had and I still work with like the same people, this great group of filmmakers and friends who love to help. And you know, like all 3 of the people who played the judges are all teachers, acting teachers. And all the extras are just friends that I begged to come. And you know, it's like, and then of course all of my crew were all of my friends as well, and they all worked so hard. Also, when I was making the film, it was like the biggest thing that I had made, kind of what you were saying, where it was like I just wanted to go bigger and do more things.
Yes.
And it's definitely hard to like build a world when you're a student filmmaker and don't have any money, and like that's the locations were all like just kind of places near my house that I was like, please, I'm a filmmaker in high school.
Yep.
And yeah, and like the tattoos, I ordered temporary tattoos that I like looked
Amazing.
Up. They're all temporary tattoos, and we're all putting them on our faces at the end with like different things. It was just a lot of asking favors, and it was a lot easier then than it is now. You know?
Right? Oh my gosh.
When you're a lot younger, it's a lot more like, can you do this huge thing for me because I'm a student filmmaker, blah, blah. And as you get older, it kind of becomes more of like that transactional thing.
Yes. I think we're on like the precipice of like a movement that all of us, at least in these programs, and all of us that keep coming, and like NFFTY having people pour into you, that like everyone's realizing like, oh, we can take back the industry in a way that it's not going to be, oh, you work yourself up and do the grunt work and get abused and you know, just exploited for your labor, and your mental health is just shrinks. And it's like, instead we're going to be in this place where all of us are like, no, we're not standing for that anymore, you know, like, and we get to say and we get to decide about what our set environment is like. And it's not that it's unprofessional, it's just artists who love what they're doing.
Find that like the sets that are more friends and less like on that kind of transactional capitalist kind of vibe tend to be just like better, and like everyone gets things done faster. I don't know. It's such a core value.
It's so true. Tell the fans, Chelsea. if you had like one piece of advice for, you know, anyone who's just starting out or, you know, younger, anything like that, what would you say?
I mean, I think a lot of my core values of filmmaking, I've already said, is just like thanking people, treating people well, and giving your all to them when you can, and they'll give their all to you. But I think that also the biggest tangible piece of advice that I think for young filmmakers is valuable is that go and like find communities near you of filmmakers, because you can't do it on your own. And
yes,
your work, like, it's just, I think the sooner that you learn that it's a collaborative art form and that you can't do everything on your own, the better, because your work will get so much better by the people around you that care. And I think that there's always this like stubbornness where you're like, I want to make this movie my way. And when you like really branch out and start collaborating, everything just gets so wonderful and great. And I think that's the first thing that came to my mind. Yeah.
That's so true. And like piggybacking off of that, because I think all of us, or at least a lot of us, start with, oh, I'm doing the camera, I wrote it, I directed, I'm editing, and like giving up that control can feel so scary, because you're like, there's no way someone's gonna see my vision. Like, there's no way. But if you're a good enough director, and like, you know, speaking specifically as both of us being directors, I think that's the best way to know if you feel that strongly about your vision, you are a good director, you know. And it's just learning how to articulate to someone else how you see it and getting them on board that is going to make them be like, oh yeah. And then they bring their gifts. Holy cow. Like we were talking about it, like when I worked with my production designer, blew me out of the water, the things that she could do once she just got the story and was like, great. And I was like, see, what a gift, because I never would have been able to do the things she did as much as I thought I could, you know, or like same with editing. Yeah. Like I have such a hard time giving up control editing, and like even just sitting over someone's shoulder and being like it's like, no, let them walk away and let them come back with a first cut and like see what they did. It's amazing. And I think that's a perfect piece of advice, because I'm dittoing that.